Hello everybody. So I'm kind of making this video late because I had a pretty packed day. So I'm filming this currently at 1:06 a.m. Uh, don't blame me if this video comes out late, even though I know nobody is watching. But for my fourth day of watching a movie and reviewing it, I watched Dinner in America. And I just want to say I enjoyed Dinner in America a lot. Okay, I enjoyed it a lot. So take that as you will. I don't really know much about the behind the scenes or production of this movie. All I know is that Kyle Gallner was in Smile 2, and I had previously seen him act in Smile 2, and I hated Smile 2. So I'm very happy that I was able to watch a movie where his role and his acting were very much redeemed in a good movie. So yeah, I guess let's just get right into the movie because I don't really have anything else to say. So to jump into the writing of the movie, I really enjoyed the jokes that they included within this film. Like, every single time Patty's family was on screen, I pretty much laughed every single time. Especially because Kevin, his actor's facial expressions were genuinely amazing. That 100% made the movie so much better. It was just such a good comic relief, even though the entire movie it's a rom-com, right? So the entire movie is pretty funny, but it felt almost like it was comic relief, even in a film full of comedy. So I really enjoyed the dinner scenes with Patty's family. You know, it was just the actual perfect example of like a stereotypical white family. And I mean, I gotta give it up to Patty's mom and dad because I thought their performances were amazing. To specify in the writing, the script is good. I liked the dialogue, I liked the jokes. I feel like there probably could have been more work done within the script to make it better. I don't really have anything specific necessarily to bring out for the script. It just felt like it could have been stronger at some points throughout the film, but kind of a nitpick. It's still really a great and enjoyable, has a very great and enjoyable script and writing. Actually, well, okay, I guess the only thing I would say is the setup and payoff for some minor things could use work, but every major thing that they do set up does get payoff, so that's definitely good. For the to move on to the acting of the movie, I didn't really have much to say about the acting. It's just Emily Skeggs' facial expressions throughout the film really made this movie too. Like, just the scenes that they did where they just shot her face and it was her reaction were great. I laughed a lot to those. I thought her acting was phenomenal and as well. Yeah, her and Kyle Gallner's like on-screen chemistry was great. Like, it really did look like they belonged in this movie together, and they played their roles very synonymously. I guess that would be the word. Like, they were able to really play off of each other, and it just seemed like they weren't acting necessarily, and it was like, yeah, like their real interaction. So I really liked when they were both on screen. I thought that was great, and it's throughout most of the film, so most of the film is great. Now to move on to the cinematography, I just what I really liked about the cinematography was that the amount of handhelds that are used throughout it are kind of limited, but at the same time, like, every single time they use a handheld shot, it's used perfectly, and it's just implemented in the best way possible for a handheld. Like, you could totally see that whenever you can tell that it's a handheld shot, it really fits within what's going on, and it really makes or it really emphasizes the situation and what emotion it's trying to make you feel in this scene. So I really enjoyed the usage of handhelds through this. The shot selection is, I would say it's basic. There weren't many shots that blew my mind away, but I wouldn't say that the cinematography was like horrible or bad by any means. It was just, like the average shot that you would take when shooting coverage for your films. It was really basic, and yeah, like I said, like there were some shots that I was like, oh wow, this is a good shot, but overall the shots were pretty basic in composition. There's this the one scene where they stare at each other while John Q is playing is an amazing sequence, I think. And when talking about the cinematography, I just wanted to bring that up because it's not necessarily like a dynamic shot at all, but the way that they shot it with the editing just made it like great. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, just great. To move on to the editing of the movie, I just wanted to say that what I really thought stood out in this movie was the editing. I thought that the editing was amazing. Like the usage of cuts, music, just kind of everything when it comes down to editing was done exceptionally well, I feel. Like there's this scene at the beginning, nearing the beginning of the movie, and it has really fast cutting, and the soundtrack that they use, or like the soundtrack that they use behind that scene just really, really makes the scene, like you can tell that this scene is very well edited. And also like the comedic cuts were just great too, like when they, during some of the dinner scenes, they just cut to Kevin's face and he's not even saying anything, but it's like for his reaction. And I thought that those cuts were really good, and those really stood out to me while watching it. And the color grading throughout the movie was pretty good. There were some scenes that like really blew me away, like the arcade scene when they're running around through the arcade and kind of like a little date. The color grading in that scene is actually amazing, and it's phenomenal. It makes the scene look great. And yeah, like I said, the color grading throughout the entire movie was, pretty good. So, I'll give credit where credit's due. And yeah, the editing was great. That's all I have to say. There's nothing bad, I feel, about the editing at all. I feel that it was done in the most perfect way for a rom-com. And yeah, to move on to the next thing I want to talk about, the ease of watching and pacing of the movie is, I think it's pretty good. First, when talking about the ease of watching, I think it's a very easy watch. It's a very digestible narrative and plot, but at the same time, it talks about, a lot of these very deep strung topics that are inexplicit that you have to think about. So it's not all explicit. And yeah, it's a very easy movie to watch. I thought that the pacing was good. It didn't feel slow at any points throughout the movie, maybe until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. But even then, like, if you're not checking the time for timestamps or anything like that, then it's the pacing is done very, very well. And, other than that, I really do think that the soundtrack also makes this movie. The songs that they use throughout it are, great. It really ties this movie together. And yeah, this movie was very good. I really don't have, anything negative to say, other than the writing and script could have been a little better. The shot selection could have been more dynamic, and only that the pacing just kind of gets noticeably slow at the end. But other than that, it's a great watch. I gave it a 4.5 on Letterboxd. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think if you are into like maybe like 10 Things I Hate About You, I think you would like Dinner in America, even though they're kind of drastically different types of rom-coms. I just feel like it still has that same type of like absurdist comedy that some of the 10 Things I Hate About You scenes have. Just, it's more modern than 10 Things I Hate About You. So yeah, that concludes my review for day 4. Thank you.